Today, we'll be talking Simplified Business Solutions with Andrew Bourne, who is the regional head for Zoho Southern Africa. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here. I want to track back and just get a sense of your career and how you end up at Zoho.
So interestingly enough, after school, I was a professional athlete. So I wakeboarded for South Africa. And throughout my sporting career, I always had a business focus. You know, my family or my parents weren't always able to support me financially, so I had to find a way to generate income while doing my sport. So I had a training facility where I taught people. I had an online store where I was selling water sports equipment. I eventually went into selling boats. And so there was always a business aspect, and also I did events as well. And throughout my career, the wakeboard training facility did very well because unbeknownst to me, there was a huge demand from Europe and from the UK to actually come and do water sports in South Africa. So when it's winter in the UK, South Africa's summer. So I had a lot of influx of foreigners that would come in and train with me. And so it was really, really good business. But I had a really bad injury in about 2008 where I injured my knee, and I realized that I didn't want to be teaching sport for the rest of my life. I realized I wanted to have a family, I want to have kids, need to provide for my family. And so I knew I had to pivot into an industry that I would be as passionate about as I was my wakeboarding, my sport. And so what I did is I started looking at different industries thinking, what industry can I get into that will give me long-term ability to create money, to provide for a family, but something that I'll really, really enjoy. And so I eventually found real estate. And I had seen how real estate was done in America because I had traveled to America a lot for my wakeboarding. And I then started, actually became an intern estate agent with Rawson because I had to learn, so I went from the top of my sporting career to the bottom of the real estate industry.
And how old were you?
I must have been, in 2008, roughly 15 years ago, right? 15, 16.
I mean, it was still a big pivot.
No, it was like mid-20s, yeah.
Yeah, it was still a big pivot from being at the top of a particular industry to going to another industry and starting at the bottom.
Yeah, and I think, but that's what helped me is that I knew what I could achieve, right?
Oh, I love that approach.
So my vision in going into this other industry, also I had studied marketing management through UNISA, but I'd only done 2 years, right? And I hadn't finished my last year because of the water sports business being so successful. But I let those credits lapse for 5 years. So they didn't give me my credits for my 2 years of studies. So I had to go and throw myself into a business and then build myself up.
Yeah.
But I literally started walking the streets of Wynberg, Cape Town, knocking on doors.
Jeez.
To try and learn this real estate business. And it was tough in the beginning, extremely tough. I was glad I had a really good mentor who owned one of the most successful Rawson franchises in the country. And I just remember the one thing he said to me. He said, out of 20 no's, you'll get one yes. And I remember thinking to him, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I went out that evening, and I still remember it was Silverley Road in Wynberg. I parked my car, and I walked down the road, and I started ringing doorbells. And the 16th doorbell, the guy said to me, oh, yeah, we were interested in selling our property.
It was a yes.
And it was a yes. And eventually gave him my business card, got his details. And then I realized how sales work, and how you really have to get through all the no's. Always analyze how you're doing things to improve. And then you'll get to the yeses. And then I put it back to my sport. And I remember the first time my dad pulled me up on a wakeboard and how hard it was.
Yeah.
And how I had to constantly analyze the different tricks that I wanted to achieve and how I had to practice. You would go through points where you just never thought you would achieve it, but then you would go and practice on the trampoline. You practiced your strength training in the gym, and you would analyze on video what you were maybe doing wrong on the water, and you'd eventually get it right. And I took that mindset into business, and I thought, let me analyze what I'm doing, constantly improve, get to the yeses, and at the same time, understand how the real estate business works and understand how I know the American business to work and how I see South African real estate business to work. And slowly but surely, I did my 2 years. I did my NQF4 exams to become a professional practitioner in real estate. And I was able then to join a company that was very tech focused, to the point where they even got me to then become a licensee, which means I was able to build my own real estate office under their brand.
Wow.
And hire my own staff.
Wow.
And I eventually got to the point where I needed my own technology, because the standard real estate technology that we were using, some of it was American-based technology, which was very restricted to a certain way of doing things. And I wanted something that I could really customize to have a unique selling point. All businesses, I think, need to have some sort of unique selling point or some competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
And I knew I needed to be able to have technology that I could customize to be able to do that.
Absolutely. You've said so much, Andrew, like my mind is blown. I think there's so much that we can explore just from the mindset conversation. I think that's so powerful. And I think it's so important to anchor that. It literally, I'm going to walk away with that. You knew what you could achieve because of what you had achieved in sports, but you were able to say, I am going to do what I was able to do there in a new industry, instead of thinking, oh, what are people going to think? Now I'm starting again. I'm going to be an intern. I was coming from the top. I think that is such a powerful message for anyone who is pivoting and going into new careers. And I guess we see that a lot with some of the challenges we saw with COVID. But there's something else that you explored a little bit around your first business and the online store. How important do you think technology is in the modern business?
Well, definitely. I mean, it's so important, because I also used to listen to Cape Talk 567 radio, because my father used to say to me, always read the newspaper, keep up to date with the news, listen to business radio, because when you engage with clients, those are the type of conversations you're going to have with business people.
That is very true. That is very true.
And I remember the Money Show on Cape Talk. There was a guy called Pablo Fratides. He would talk about businesses, and he would say, you need to build systems and procedures into your business, and you need to make sure your business can run even though you're not there.
I feel like that's mostly what business is.
Yeah.
The idea is just one part of it.
Yeah.
But getting the systems right is key.
Yeah. And then the whole working, on your business and not in your business. And you need those systems to happen. And I mean, I still remember in the real estate business, my staff would make mistakes, and I would see where the mistakes were being made. And I'm like, oh, if only I had a system that would, just guide them to do it correctly. And then eventually I found Zoho.
Yeah.
And Zoho, I looked at many different options. I mean, I looked at the Microsofts, I looked at the Pipe Drives, I looked at the Salesforces, I looked at the, there was Bitrix 24 at the time, the HubSpots, and I eventually took 3 months. And I had to look through all the different options, because it is quite challenging to understand what you're going to get for what you're going to pay.
Absolutely.
And Zoho was the one that I'd never heard about. But when I searched the top CRM in the world, it came up.
Yeah.
And when I looked at how they were improving the software, you can go into the Zoho community and you'll see people asking questions, and you'll see how frequently they update the solution. I was like, gee, this technology is getting better and better. And at the same time, I can customize it for South Africa. The one thing I really wanted to do is I wanted to be able to put ID numbers into a system. And I wanted it to automatically pull out the birthday. And I wanted it to automatically email the person happy birthday as if I had sent them the email, to save me the time.
Absolutely.
Already I was going into my emails in the morning, I was seeing people's birthdays, and I was just copying and pasting the same message to each person. And I was like, if I can save that time and do it automatically, then I'm going to save that time, I can work on something else. Yeah. And I got it to the point where it does. It emails people wishing them happy birthday, and every day they reply and say, oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And
it's a lot. It's a lot for creating culture and community in business.
Completely. I think even in today's age, it's more important, because with the POPI Act and the protection of personal information, you can't go and buy big databases and market to people, right? So the customers that you've already got in your system and your sphere of influence, that would be your family, your close friends, and people that you know in your business environment. It's so important to stay front of mind with them.
Absolutely.
And so if you've got a system that will remind you to keep in touch with your sphere of influence, they're going to remember to promote your business to other people.
Absolutely.
And then also customer experience. If you give customers, the greatest experience, you can build loyalty with them to the point where they're going to promote your business for you.
Yeah. I feel like you need to have like a masterclass on running a business and creating businesses. There's something you mentioned at the beginning of your answer when you said we need to be thinking about working on our business and not in our businesses. And I think it's a big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, figuring out how much time you spend on what in your business. As someone who is seasoned in business, and I'm coining this now, if anyone tells you you're not, they are lying. As someone who's seasoned in business, what are some of the operational strategies that you have seen being implemented, some that you might have implemented when you were a founder yourself, that seemed to work well in getting you to that point where you are working on your business and not in your business?
Okay, so I think the first important thing is that whole saying about do what you do best and delegate the rest is very important, right? And so administrative tasks were a bit challenging for me. Not challenging, but I really felt that my real strength was sales and engaging with people, and presenting, the services that we could provide and all of that. But sitting and having to constantly reply to emails or scanning in, let's say, FICA documents and stuff like that it took up so much time. But if I spent more time on the phone with people and engaging with people and selling to people, then I knew I would be able to grow the business. The one little nugget I will give to people, which was a big turning point in me building my business, was I was always waiting for a point where I had enough constant income to pay someone's salary.
Yes.
For my first hire, right? And I was like waiting for this point where I had enough, obviously, to pay for my own expenses, but then to have a little bit extra to pay for a staff member.
Yes.
And that was the wrong mindset.
Tell me
Weirdly
more.
enough, is I was reading and always analyzing successful people. And I read in one article where the guy said, if you've got enough money to pay for someone for 3 months, give them a contract for 3 months and tell them that after those 3 months, if they haven't helped you improve your business to the point where you can sustain that salary, then unfortunately you won't be able to keep them.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
And when I saw that, I was like, no ways. And I had enough to pay for like an admin person to help me for at least 3 to 4 to 5 months. And I went ahead and I eventually hired someone and she took care of all my administrative tasks, which meant I spent more time on the road, on the phone, selling to people. And at that point, it was like in the second month, we made a really big sale, a really big apartment in Claremont, still remember. That big sale, the commission that came in from that was enough to then keep them on.
I love that.
And then you grow as you grow, and eventually I was able to hire my first intern estate agent to work underneath me. And I then gave them certain tasks to phone people. I built phone call scripts that worked really well for me, and taught them how to then do the sales part. And then, as you grow, then eventually we got another admin person and then another agent and another agent. And so it is very exciting for that turning point when you realize you can get that first person to help you do the things that maybe aren't your strongest point.
I love how all your answers are so practical. I literally have been at that point where I am thinking as a founder, I need to make enough money or get that contract, right, that gets me to have someone who I can employ, and then I can delegate a little piece of the work that I'm doing so that I can do something else. And it feels like an endless conundrum because you're not really able to secure that contract because you don't have capacity, but then because you don't have capacity, you can't secure the contract. So I really love that strategy of just thinking about what can be achieved in 3 months if I have a second person who is helping me. Another thing that you mentioned, which I think was so powerful, when we start to think about tools that we use for our businesses, it can be extremely overwhelming. And I recently did a video on my social media talking about how I have now decided to make decisions when I am migrating or integrating over time. Because I also used to feel the overwhelm of what if I jump and then it doesn't work and then I have to come back to this tool and then all this migration of the process felt overwhelming. But I love that you've already exposed something that I have seen work for my own business, just giving myself 3 months to learn and figure out what is going to work, what integrates well with my business. And you mentioned Zoho, which I am using in my business as well. And we took the same strategy because it's such a big system There's so many apps, there's so many tools. Can you tell us a little bit about Zoho and some of the must-have business tools? So if I'm a founder and I'm thinking of exploring it, where can I start?
So I think as a startup or a small business, you need to look and you need to prioritize what I call your digitization. The parts of the business that you're going to digitize, right? But you need to focus on income generating activities first. There's so many other really amazing things you can do with technology, but you need to do the things that are going to increase your revenue. So you would focus on your finance, so get a good accounting platform in place where you can invoice people, you can have a payment gateway plugged in, you can easily collect money. Secondly, your sales. Right? You need to be able to manage the sales that are coming in. You need to manage your sales pipeline, and you need to know exactly how many opportunities are coming in and where they are in the sales cycle. And then marketing, right? You need to keep feeding that sales funnel. And so I would say you focusing on those points first. And whenever I speak to someone about it, I say to them, put together, even if it's just a spreadsheet, and you put there at the top and you list all the different digitizations that you want to do, and then you rank them from like 1 to 10.
I absolutely love that.
1 is going to be the ones that are, let's say, add a lot of value and they're time critical. So this is what I call the priority matrix. It's something that's time critical and adds lots of value. Then the next one would be it's not time critical, but it still adds lots of value. Then the next one is it doesn't add much value, but it's time critical. And at the bottom is doesn't add much value and it's not really time critical. And that you use to and you need to be so like diligent about it. You can your mind
writing notes right now.
Your mind can go all over and you can but there's this and there's the digital signing app and then there's the project management app, and then you go, oh, jeepers, there's an expense management app. You really do need to focus on those income generating activities, the marketing, and really keep filling that lead funnel.
So I was using a CRM, a different one before, we won't mention the name. And I found, I hadn't used CRMs before. And I found that when I went into the lead generating part of the app, I just didn't realize how much I was not even thinking about on my own. So one of the things I found very powerful about using digital tools was that outside of the fact that it helps your business get better, it also exposes you to other functions that you might not be thinking about as a business at the time. And both of us studied marketing. I also studied marketing a very long time ago. We're similar in age, but I want to chat a little bit about, when you mentioned that priority list, you mentioned marketing. And I find that a lot of small businesses underestimate the importance of marketing. I see so many founders with really great products that are not branded well, that are not marketed well. What should we be thinking about when we think about marketing when we don't have big budgets? And that in itself is the second conundrum, I believe, of running a business. The first one, I think, is hiring, definitely. The second one is marketing. How do I get to the market, but I don't have a big marketing budget?
So obviously SEO, everyone knows about SEO. You've got the short strings, the long strings. You need to make sure that you've also got content in your website that people want to engage with. I know some people, business owners, entrepreneurs, maybe don't find the time, or it's challenging to sit and write a whole bunch of text.
Absolutely.
Right? But we've got tools, like we've got voice to text. We've also got AI tools that can help with certain things. But I mean, even if you build, let's say, a video, right? I remember I helped someone who was very technical and he was great in configuring Zoho, and he would build things that would even make our internal engineers go, wow. He would connect Zoho into other apps and do crazy things that we didn't think were possible. And he came to me the one day, he said, Andrew, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a techie. Can you help me generate leads? And I said to him, you know what, make a screen recording of what you're able to do. I said, you can record your screen. We've got a little tool, a free tool called Zoho Annotator. It can record your screen. I said, go and do a screen recording of exactly what you are able to achieve. Don't tell people how you did it. Just show them what you can achieve and then send it to me. And it took a few months. I kept following up and, hey, have you done the video? And I said, put it onto YouTube. And he sent it to me. And I had the link. I said, that's amazing. I said, I want you to post it on the internal Zoho partner. We have an internal community network. Anyway, so he eventually posted it. And one of our partners from Europe contacted him and said, oh, wow, that's amazing. Can you do that for me, for one of my customers? He's like, sure. He did it. The next week, he's like, My customer wants this to be done. Can you do this too? He did it. Now he's probably the most in-demand Zoho specialist developer in the world. And
That's incredible.
And he sits in Cape Town.
He's in Cape Town with no sales ability, as he thinks, no marketing budget, but access to tools.
Exactly. And it's because he pushed out that content that showed, how good he was at what he did. So I would say definitely push out content, have all that content, also, obviously you have to put the text in. That's what the algorithm can pick up. And then obviously the longer people are going to watch the videos, also those algorithms will pick up that as well. And then I think consistency is important.
Yes.
We've got a tool called Zoho Social where you can actually schedule your posts and you can even drag them around a calendar, which is pretty cool. You can space them out evenly.
I've researched that as well.
Once you've done a few organic posts, if you're on there's one version of Zoho Social. If you're on Zoho 1, you get the top.
I'm on Zoho 1.
Exactly. Then once let's have a bit of organic content on there. There's an AI button you can push to schedule your next post, and it will post it at the best time for you to get most engagement.
I really love that.
Yeah.
I really love that. Speaking of AI, should we be excited about AI or should we be worried? How is AI in the Zoho sphere?
I think for business and for helping people, we should be very excited about it.
I agree.
As far as we just have to be aware, because there's privacy, there's scams that are using AI, so you need to be aware of what is possible.
Yeah.
There's deep fakes where there was a CFO that he was deep faked to one of their employees in Singapore. He's based in the UK, and the Singapore staff member even went onto a video chat. And they had deep faked the CFO to tell him to make payments.
Oh, wow.
And it was millions of dollars that he made payments throughout a week. So you got to be careful about AI. You got to be very knowledgeable about it. And then I think in business, it's going to help. But the best use of AI is when the customer doesn't know you're using it.
Absolutely.
So we've got a really good application called Zoho Desk. It's for customer support.
Yes.
But it can be used for anything, and we've got people using it, government using it for citizen query management or citizen support. But anyway, what happens when someone sends you a WhatsApp, or if they send an email, or if they're on the live chat, it will come into Zoho Desk, and the AI will quickly read through the query, the question, and then all of a sudden it will suggest what help articles you could suggest to the person. So you could just get the question could be there in a few seconds. You've got a suggestion. You click on that. It puts it into the email and sends it back to them.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I have to say, I was a little intimidated by AI, and my son he's 17, and he's really the one who just was like, I'm not having this, mom. Like, honestly, I'm not doing the things that you say I must do. I can put it on ChatGPT and it will work. So I really want to encourage everyone to really explore and start just fiddling around and trying out things. That's how I've become really, really proficient with AI tools. I think it's the basic tools, but I've seen such a significant way that they have helped the business function better. Even when you're talking about Zoho Social and the AI tools and finding the best time to post, once you have once I plugged in my business on Zoho Social, the AI starts reading and understanding what's happening, what kind of posts we're putting out there, and the more we use it, the more it better understands who we are and what we do. When you think about tools like that, Andrew, and I think even about the some of the tasks like hiring, which can be very difficult when you're a small business, how can we think about the way that technology can help business owners get better at solving some of the problems, maybe before they can even hire, thinking through some of the small things that can be used in the Zoho ecosystem before you get to a point where you can pay maybe a full salary. You have a tool that you can access, which can minimize the time that you spend on a particular task versus rushing maybe to get to a point where you're onboarding people, but maybe you're not even ready to lead, because that's another thing, right? About hiring, leading. So understanding how to get familiar with the tools yourself and stay up to date with the latest trends as well before you kind of integrate your team into the tools as well.
Yeah, so I think it's a case of understanding where you are in your business, how much money you have. I mean, we've got some free applications like there's Zoho Invoice. It's going to be free forever. It allows you to just invoice, right? We've got Zoho Books, which is our finance application where the free version allows you to do 1,000 invoices a year.
Oh, wow.
on that free version, you know. So you can pick some of our apps with the free versions until you get to a point where you can then pay for, let's say, the standard version, and then you can move up to the professional version, and maybe then the enterprise version. And I think the goal is for startups is to get to Zoho One.
Yeah.
You know, because Zoho One is a per employee fee. You pay roughly about 603 Rand, including VAT, because most startups aren't VAT registered. So let's talk about inclusive of VAT prices. You pay 603 Rand, including VAT per employee. So if you're a one-person business, you're one employee. You pay 603 Rand a month, but you get access to 45 or plus applications, right? And I mean, you've seen them.
Yes.
You've got Zoho Sites, you can build your website.
Yes.
Zoho Sales IQ can give a live chat on your website.
We also tried Backstage because we do events.
Yeah, Backstage
We also
for
tried
events.
Backstage. That was really cool.
But I mean, if you really get that presence, you've got the website, you've got a live chat, you already look like you're more than a one-person business,
Absolutely.
right? You can even build an easy drag-and-drop bot to ask people questions when they come onto your site and collect information from them, you know, which will save you a whole bunch of time. You can then use Zoho Social to push out your social content. Zoho Campaigns you can use for mass emailing of newsletters.
Yes.
We've even got SMS built in there, so you can do mass SMSing. We've got WhatsApp built into that too, so you'll soon be able to do the marketing through WhatsApp. We've also got an app called Marketing Automation, which takes all these powerful Zoho marketing apps and puts it into one platform.
That's incredible.
And that's a very powerful solution, because that will basically track people when they're on your website. It'll track them when they receive a newsletter. It'll know how far they scroll down the newsletter. They'll know what they clicked on in a newsletter, but they'll also know how long they spent on a web page. You know, so it becomes very powerful. You start scoring them based on their interactions with your brand, and then you can see the person with the highest score. Gee, I need to engage with that person.
Yes.
You know, the CRM is very powerful because you can manage your sales pipeline, but you can also take your offline business processes and you can put them online. There's a feature called Zoho Blueprints in Zoho CRM. That's Blueprints in CRM, where you can easily map out different stages of a business process, and between that you put transitions. And you say, in order to get to, let's say, step 1 to step 2, I require the staff member to give this information. And I'll give you a great example that everyone will probably relate to. I built a blueprint so that my staff would never make mistakes when filling out a lease agreement.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what happened, the blueprint would pop up, it would step 1, it would say, who's the landlord? It would force the staff to put in the landlord's details. If the landlord's details were already there, it would pre-populate. Then they click step 2, it would say, who's the tenant? They would fill out the details. Then it would go to, is the property inclusive of water or excluding water? Including electricity or excluding electricity? How many people can stay in the property before you must ask for permission? Is it pets allowed or pets not allowed? If they're pets allowed, how many pets are allowed? It would ask for special conditions, right? So every variable part of a lease agreement, the blueprint would ask the staff member. And then before they get to the end, it would say, upload the signed lease agreement. And all they would have to do is just cancel out of the blueprint, click one button called Mail Merge. It would merge all that data into a Zoho Writer contract template.
Yes.
Zoho Writer is the same as Word.
Yes.
And then we'd send it for signature with Zoho Sign.
Yes, I love Zoho Sign. I absolutely love Zoho
So
Sign.
imagine, historically, real estate agents would have to go and first print a whole wad of paper, right? Then they have to go and
Fill in all the
fill it out,
details.
cross out clauses if the clauses weren't supposed to be there. They would have to go and write up an addendum for special conditions, right? Then they would sign it, and then they would have to send it, and someone would have to then scan it and print it and sign it again and send it back. It would take like maybe a week to get it done, whereas the Zoho Sign, it could take 2 days.
Yeah.
And so we built that in Zoho CRM. So it's also got a very, very strong process mapping tool within that CRM.
Yeah. Are we thinking about Zoho Rewards? I mean, when we were speaking about, it sounded like literally you had built that whole system for my business, because we have website engagement. We have a newsletter that goes out every Thursday. We have our social, and we are seeing that it's the same person who is existing in the community and just interfacing with us at different touch points. We have events where we have people who say, oh, I'm on the newsletter. This is where I found out about the platform. Do we have Zoho Rewards? Are we thinking about Zoho Rewards? I think it would be a nice integration for rewarding people who are engaging with the business consistently.
So we do.
Oh, yeah.
It's a new application that we've
I love
brought
that.
out. So I think it was brought out about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, and it's improving rapidly. It's called Zoho Thrive.
Ooh.
And it's for loyalty management, customer loyalty management, and affiliate management. So you can manage affiliates that go and promote your business. You can keep track of maybe what rewards you give them, whether it's points or commission or whatever it is. But that application is working really, really well. And
absolutely. It makes it's just so obvious when you think about how people engage with businesses and how it really is much cheaper to keep a consumer in your business than to go out and find a new consumer. Having a system that rewards and helps people to stay engaged it's just a no-brainer. Also, I feel like I should be applying to work for Zoho now. I think it's really, really my ecosystem and sphere. But as we navigate this conversation, I am curious to know if you have any stories, success stories that you can share with us of founders who have used Zoho and seen transformation in their businesses and growth and success, and maybe which industries were they in? Because I'm sure there's people listening to this and thinking, I'm not sure if this fits my industry. I have a lot of problems to solve for, but maybe it's just for people who are in marketing or people who are in those industries. Maybe for someone in retail, they're just like, I don't know if it integrates with my payments and all of that. But do you have success stories of founders who got onto the platform and the ecosystem and they've seen significant growth in their business?
Yes. So obviously I was in real estate. I owned a real estate brokerage. We got to the point where we were using 16 of Zoho's apps connected to each other. We then started selling property in Switzerland and actually sold property in Andermatt in the Swiss Alps. So it really helped us to automate the whole business. Another good example, and you can actually search on YouTube for a company called Yellow.
Yes.
I think the video is Yellow Electrifying Africa with Zoho. And what they did is historically, they've been using just spreadsheets, right? They supply small home solar kits and smartphones to East Africa. I think it's Malawi and Uganda. And they started just on spreadsheets, and they soon realized, jeepers, this is very difficult as they started growing.
Yes.
Because they eventually got to the point where they have 80 staff here in South Africa. It's 80 permanent staff. I don't know if they're all in South Africa. Then they have, I think, 1,000 agents in East Africa and more than 250,000 customers. And they built literally all their apps on Zoho Creator, which is an app we haven't spoken about.
Yes.
Zoho Creator is a custom app builder.
I have to tell you,
we call it a low-code platform.
I was told about Zoho Creator when I went to Zoholics, because that's how I found out about Zoho Backstage. And then I wanted to find out about the printing of the badges, and actually it was the one-on-one bookings, because at our event we also have something similar. Yeah. And then they told me about Zoho Create, that they had created that on that platform. Yeah,
so the one-on-one bookings is done through that. It shows a schedule. It's basically, I want to try and explain it. It's like the foundation is built.
Yeah.
It's strong, it's secure, it's POPI compliant, GDPR compliant. So you don't have to worry about that when you're building an app.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoho takes care of all of that. But the reason why we call it low code, we've got all these little microservices that you can select and drag in. You want a payment gateway, you drag it in. You want barcode scanning, you drag it in. You want a map, you drag it in. Right? So it's low code, and when you do want to code on it, it gives you suggestions on how you should put the code together, or what the different queries would look like and the different formulas. And then you can also code on top of it, so you can make it incredibly powerful. And you can connect it into pretty much any application. And so what they had done is they built their own finance app on Zoho Creator, because they were paying commissions in different countries throughout Africa. So they needed a very, very customized finance tool. They built their own logistics app, their own stock management app, their own support desk app, which I don't think they needed to do. Zoho Desk is an incredibly good support desk, but they've got some technical people. So that's a success story of a company that has some guys that are very, very technical. But we've got success stories of companies that are very, very small. And then we've got companies like PayFast.
Yes.
So PayFast also use our software.
Oh, wow.
They're one of the most trusted payment gateways in the country.
We also use PayFast.
And then we've got Quicket, the ticketing agency.
Yes.
They're probably one of the most successful ticketing agencies in Africa.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are big companies.
And I think Quicket use like 20 of our apps.
Wow.
In their business.
I really love the versatility. I love the versatility of the Zoho ecosystem, and that's what I call it, because there's quite a lot that you can have access to. And even as we were talking about Zoho Create, I want to maybe dive in a little bit, because I know that things like that can be intimidating for founders who maybe don't have they're not familiar with the technical spheres, and I'm one of those, but I have to tell you a story of my own. During COVID, when I realized the business that I was building at the time was a digital business, I had never built a website my entire life, but the website that we use for our business, I built myself. And what I realized is that when you start to just try and interface with the platforms and the tools, you realize that there's so much content that's available to help you. Even when I found out about Zoho and I migrated my business there, one of the things I did immediately was just go to YouTube and start researching, how do I use Zoho CRM? How do I use Zoho Social? And you find so many videos that are available that can help you navigate some of those solves. How have you seen some of the challenges that maybe small businesses are having when it comes to technology be easily solved when they access the Zoho platform? And I want to speak particularly with the time that you have with some of the free solutions that are there, where you can just get on and you don't have to pay, and you just try out the platform and see how it works for you. How have you seen businesses migrate from those free solutions into paid solutions?
So when I started using Zoho in 2017 was when I first found CRM. There wasn't much. There weren't training courses, nothing like that. I had to teach myself.
Yeah.
And I don't have a coding background. I have no coding background.
Same.
I went online and I watched every video. I read as
many
articles as I could. I spoke to as many people as I could. Luckily, Zoho had started doing what they call community meetups or Zoho user group meetups. So they would get a whole bunch of Zoho customers together, and I would go and meet, and I would speak to people, and we would share ideas. We've also got a Zoho partner network, so I would speak to the partners. And so I think for business, I would say now, I would definitely... it depends on how much money you have to spend on the customization of the solution, right? We've got Zoho partners, South African businesses that will quote you on the time that they'll take to configure the Zoho
I like that
system, right?
I like that.
But I suppose if you strap for cash and you've got the time, then I would say go and learn as much as you can, and then you project manage your own customization. What I mean by that is you'll do some customizations, and then you'll leverage off a partner or someone or like a freelancer to do certain parts of it for you. But again, it's like a sport. You have to practice. You have to get into it. You have to, really work on it and understand it. I still remember, one evening just trying to wrap my head around how all the modules talk to each other. And I went into a room and I took a whole bunch of printer paper and I wrote all the different modules onto a piece of paper and I spread them around the desk.
I'm also the same.
And I'm like,
very
how am I
visual.
going to make this one talk to that one, because it needs to talk to that one too, and it needs to talk to that one in order to get that result. So the more you immerse yourself in it, the easier it's going to get, the more you're going to understand the environment. And I think that's very important.
It is.
Because Zoho is very customizable. So if you want to, let's say, do one specific thing, there's usually 10 different ways you can do it. But there's usually the best way and probably the least best way to do it. But if you understand the environment and how the apps talk to each other, then you'll probably find the best way to do it.
Andrew, one of the things that is so clear to me as I speak to you, and I hope I get another chance to speak to you, is there's something really powerful about your mindset. And it's something that we often don't become accountable for getting better at as founders. The way that you speak about your transitions and your growth and your career, and even how you've interfaced with tools and solutions and platforms, a lot of it really stems from the way that you think and how you approach problems. One of the things I always say when I get the opportunity to speak is that we need to have a healthy relationship with challenges. And one of the things I hear a lot of sports people speak about, and I'm a fan of sports because I think the mindset that sports trains you for is the same mindset you need when you build a business. My favorite is basketball, just practicing and thinking through what do I need to get better at and consistently going back and doing that. How can entrepreneurs start to become accountable and disciplined around activity, time, mindset, and how we engage with the responsibility we have as entrepreneurs to bring solutions to the world?
I think it's a case of understanding yourself, right? Some people are good at time management, some are not, right? Some can sit and they can read books and they can read quickly. Some can't. They're more visual, right? You got to understand where your strong suit is and how best you can learn.
Yeah.
And I would say also one thing that really helped me is I call it block booking. In my calendar, I block every moment and every day, even if it's a meeting to strategize.
Absolutely.
I have the strategy meeting, and then I sit and I plan and I see how we're going to do things. And, if we can't be successful in this direction, then how can we maybe tap in another direction in order to create that sort of success? So I would say time management, project management is very important. I think also mindset. I'm very passionate about this country, and I think we can really fight inequality with technology.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really speaking to a lot of different people, a lot of government departments, trying to promote I would say maybe a mindset shift of the youth from, usually they like, let's get educated and let's find a job.
Yes.
Right? But I don't think that's the right mindset. Right? I think it should be get educated and try and get as much skills as you can, right? And then market your skills. Obviously, try and find a job, but market your skills globally, right? And then understand how to project manage yourself, build a portfolio of evidence, which allows you to then easily promote yourself, and then learn how to collect foreign currency, right? Because I go to India once a year. Our head office is in Chennai, India. And the mindset there is, let me get skills, and let me put my skills onto these global platforms, and let me do work for anyone, anywhere in the world, right? Let me collect that foreign currency and let me build a portfolio of evidence. And you'll see in India, a lot of people are hungry just to become freelancers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if we can teach people, and obviously with the support of government, the support of the private sector as well, getting people to have better data connectivity, more affordable data, all that infrastructure needs to be,
in place.
But I really think that, it's an incredible ability now to get these technical skills, and I would say the sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
Like that one gentleman who sits in Cape Town, he works from his house.
Yes.
He's now the most in-demand Zoho developer in the world.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see people like that. And even in India, we've got more than 20 offices in rural communities.
Yeah.
So we could build these technical hubs in our rural communities, where people could go and they can log in because it's cloud. You don't even need to own a computer. The computer obviously needs to be good enough, has to need to have internet connectivity, but you then log into your own cloud environment. And so that's very exciting for me.
I'm so excited to see all the work that Zoho will be doing. I mean, everything that you just spoke about as well, I'm so passionate about as well. I really believe that entrepreneurs can really change the direction of our country. And with all the challenges that we're facing with unemployment, I remember sitting with a lady who said to me, if we could support just one business to hire one person, and you're supporting 10,000 businesses to hire one person, that's 10,000 people who have a job. So I really love the approach that you have to figuring out how can you use this Zoho ecosystem to support businesses. But beyond that, how can you empower people who are looking to just upskill to then be able to have an opportunity to help businesses within the ecosystem? I think that's so powerful. Thank you so much, Andrew, for spending time with me today. I learned so much myself. I think I'm going to walk away and really, really watch this again and take more notes. But I want to know, how can people find you? Where they follow you? And I think you need to really, really think about sharing more of this. You need to have like your own channel where you share a lot about the mindsets that is going to get us to create the kind of country that we're proud of.
Yes, so definitely. I mean, always happy to speak to people. I speak to journalists all the time. I speak to lots of different departments. I'm part of advisory committees. I'm always happy to find time to speak to the youth, to speak to entrepreneurs and startups. And to get hold of me, I suppose the easiest way would be, we've got one email address for South Africa. It's southafrica@zohocorp.com, and that's ZOHOCORP.com. That gets straight to our manager at the South African office. And then, I would say just keep following Zoho's handles, because we'll create more of this content. We'll do more interviews like this, and engage more with people that need it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for your commitment to the work, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for having me.